I decided that I wanted to watch the new Flash movie. This is despite the fact that, according to several people that I trust, this movie sucked. It wasn't trying to be socially aware, it was just bad. So what do? I don't really have the money to go see it in theaters. By the way, this twisted take is also spoilery, so spoilers will abound. This is your warning. The start of the Flash movie, there's a bunch of crap going down, and the Flash is simply complaining about having to be the Justice League's janitor. Batman takes on the bad guys while Barry just whines. So, as the Flash stands in front of the hospital, they show a nursery, because if you're going to get people invested in the moment, how better to do it than with babies or dogs? Look how well it worked out for John Wick. So, the hospital collapses and Barry is running out of force juice. So he smashes and grabs a vending machine and you get to see him choking down a lot of food to regain energy. Very video gamey. So, it becomes this comedy of errors as he tries to save the nurse and babies. Batman kills a few guys by throwing them out of the Jeep, the driver jumps, and the van goes careening in towards the water. And then you see something that's never really been shown before. His equipment malfunctions as he tries to lift himself and another person. It's such a cool little touch that I appreciated, but then I immediately understood why they did it when you get to see one of the best kept secrets in the whole movie. They banked on you wanting to see Michael Keaton. Never even showed Gal Gadot before she showed up in her little cameo. The further the movie goes on, the more I dislike Barry. He's very short-tempered with people, and once he said he needed friends.
You see, I believe enemies are coming.
Stop right there. I'm in.
You are?
Yeah, I need friends.
But when people show any interest in him, he pushes them away and acts like a dick. It is very weird. That and the way that he and Iris say each other's full names. Do people do that? Oh, how was your day, Mr. Markiplier Smith? How you doing there, the act man Jones? Still fighting against the message, the critical drinker Will Jordan? See, doesn't sound right. So after Iris asks about his father, he clams up and runs off. That night, he talks to his dad and runs to his old house just in time for a flashback so you can see just how happy of a family they were. Aw, so touching. And then it ends with his mother being stabbed by a knife. Desperate to get his father out of prison, Barry starts to run. And I have to wonder, why can't they just have him run normally? This run is so goofy looking. Anyway, he breaks into the Chrono Bowl and sees a multitude of timelines and realizes he can go back in time. With this realization, he tells Batfleck that he could go back in time and save people. When Bruce tells him it's a monumentally stupid idea, something tells me he's just not gonna listen. I mean, maybe it was the trailers. When Bruce leaves, Iris shows up to talk to him, and thus my first laugh in the movie. When she asks him if they can talk, it cuts to him flying through his apartment cleaning up. Relatable. Unfortunately, I don't have super speed, but I maintain a much cleaner house. As they talk, the jokes keep coming, but the first one was the only one that hit. So talking to her, he figures out a way to do it without interacting with his parents. So back in the Chrono Bowl, you see a poorly CGI'd Henry Cavill. So he goes back in time to make sure his mother doesn't forget the tomatoes, thinking that this will solve his issue. And he's going back through time when a dark speedster knocks him out of the time flow right in front of his parents' house. Looking down at his suit and realizing that he needs something else to wear, instead of going into some random house and stealing some clothes, what does he do? He finds a nearby old couple walking down the street and strips them so that he can wear their clothes. This guy is supposed to be our hero, right? Because he sucks. He goes into his house and it seems mission successful. Then he sees himself, and we are introduced to the worst part of the movie. 2 Ezra Millers. I'll give them credit for the meta-commentary on how annoying they've made the Flash, but they continue to do it. And somehow managed to make the young version even more annoying than the original. Nightmare, I hear you screech. That's literally impossible. I thought so too, but I was wrong. So Barry realizes he has to get what shall be known as Little Barry, henceforth referred to as Larry. Anyway, Larry needs to be electrocuted in order for Barry to get his powers. As they bicker, they are both struck with lightning, and for some reason it knocks one of Barry's teeth into Larry's mouth. Why? I have no clue. And then they died. It was a short movie, but I applaud them for going big. No, actually what happens, Larry spits up the tooth on the floor and they argue about whose tooth it is. And then you get to see Barry glue it back in his mouth. Why this was needed? I have no idea. Then we find out the kicker. Barry has lost his powers, and they do it in the goofiest way possible. They show his stupid run at regular speed. And if you think it's dumb when he's flashing, it's even worse at normal speed. So now that Larry has the powers and Barry doesn't, yeah, Larry is still annoying as hell. So as Barry is trying to talk to Larry, he runs off like the Flash, steals a half-eaten pizza from someone and is planning on eating it. Well, naturally his clothes start to burn off, and because he gets distracted, he hits the ground. I wanted to say thankfully we don't see anything, but alas, Larry's ass is on full display. He stands there like an idiot as a multi-car crash happens around him with some classical music playing over the background as a ton of instruments spill out of a box truck. He runs back to his apartment where Barry tries to explain things, but Larry is too annoying to listen and shut the hell up! The next day, Barry is explaining some things to his counterpart when Zod interrupts, and you find out that the original Flash apparently was in Metropolis at the time, retconning the hell out of the DCEU. So Barry decides that he needs to find the Justice League. Wonder Woman turns out not to exist, Cyborg is not a cyborg, Aquaman's father shows up, but he doesn't have a kid, instead a dog named Arthur, and he didn't meet the Queen of Atlantis, he met Shamu. There are references to Back to the Future. In this alternate universe, for some reason, Eric Stoltz never dropped out of the Back to the Future, so Michael J. Fox didn't get the role. Talk about a tragedy for all mankind. And trust me when I say that it was clever at first, but then they just kept it going until it was annoying. Barry has an argument about it instead of it just being smart enough to realize the situation. About that time, Barry realizes that he really screwed up. But he finds one shred of hope. Batman exists in this world, and is apparently very famous for saying, "I'm Batman." Why? No idea. Meta! So, they find Wayne Manor basically desolate. When they try to find Bruce, a wild man comes in and kicks the hell out of Barry, while Larry just blocks anything thrown at him. So after getting his butt kicked thoroughly, which was actually quite satisfying to see, then Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne explains time travel to the Flash. How he knows about time travel? So, when Bruce says no to Barry's pleas for help, because we all know that he's not going to help out, it's not like they spoiled the hell out of that in the marketing strategy, they decide to go into the Batcave and use it without permission. Again, this is our hero, people. Finally, Bruce decides to go with them to the Arctic, where they think Superman is being held. They manage to sneak in, and I'm not even kidding. Larry, the one with Flash powers, knocks over a shovel and watches it fall and clang loudly to the ground. This alerts everyone. Bullets start flying, and Larry has to move Barry. This ends with Barry puking his guts up. Lovely. So Batman has to come in and rescue him. It's kind of weird that as a man nearly 40 years on from the original Batman, he's much sprier than he was back in the day. They ultimately find the Kryptonian, but this time, it isn't Clark. Barry decides that she needs to be rescued anyway, so as they are making their escape, they are surrounded, and suddenly Supergirl, exposed to the sun, powers up. I actually kind of like her. When she's pissed, believe me, she kills at least a few of those soldiers before collapsing. Flash forward, and you see a bruised and bloodied Batman, and he's smiling. Apparently, he's getting his jollies off being back in the action. Larry takes Kara up to the roof to power up, and to convince her that this world is worth saving even after she's seen the worst in humanity. She flies off. Barry and Batman have a heart-to-heart where Barry admits that he came back in time to save his mom, and oh no, Larry overheard. How will he react? Turns out, not so much for now. So Barry convinces the Caped Crusader to douse him in chemicals and zap his happy ass with lightning. It doesn't work the first time and leaves him looking much worse for wear. So Kara shows back up, takes him up into the clouds, and zaps him again. And, damn it, he's still alive. I was hoping by now at least Larry or Barry would have disappeared. So with Barry, Larry, Kara, and Batman all ready to go, they take on Zod and the Kryptonian army. During this exchange, it is revealed that Zod found baby Superman and killed him. Kara gets righteous mad and takes him on, pulling a move from Injustice out on him. The one thing that I don't like is that during the actual fighting, Zod isn't a challenge to Supergirl. Look, I understand, girl power, hurrah! But seriously, Zod should have at least had a scene where he was in control and dominating for a moment, but instead, he just gets a sneaky stab into her back when she's distracted. Batman, who has been providing air cover the entire time, takes a shot to the Batplane wing, and he cannot get out. So he pulls an Independence Day.
Hello, boys! I'm back!
Zod manages to extract the information needed from her, and Kara is dead. So Larry, realizing that Barry saved his mother by going back in time, thinks he can save them. I mean, I guess he missed the part where Barry said,
I completely broke the universe.
So, Barry chases Larry through time. They go back just long enough to stop Batman from making the mistake that led to his death. Larry tries to help Kara, but he fails, and once again she's impaled. Not long after, Batman is taking on a giant robot, and it ends up with him getting flung and dying. Maybe I missed the part where he took damage after bailing out of the Batplane, but nothing I am aware of led to that injury. Let me know in the comments that I'm stupid and I missed it. And just like that, I have to watch Michael Keaton's Batman die twice. I watched Kara Zor-El die twice, but I don't see the Flash die. So, Larry, failing to understand the situation, keeps trying to break the space-time continuum while Barry tries to get him to stop. Finally, Barry understands what happens when you try to change the past. I wish I could say this makes him more likable now, but not really. And then he tries to tell Larry to stop. You come to realize that the dark speedster from the beginning was Larry, turned evil because he tried so many times to save everyone and failed. Now the reveal happens way after you figure it out, and they ruminate on it like it's a big shock. The second I saw him show back up, I knew he was Larry. Then you see different timelines, including Jay Garrick, another Flash character, random George Reeve appearance, and Superman and Supergirl together. Yay! I mean, they brought Henry back, right? Oh my god, it's Funhouse Christopher Reeve! Somebody call an exorcist! And the original Supergirl? That's a deep cut. Do people even know that was a thing? A sad, idiotic waste of time, space, and money? You also get Adam West Batman. And Funhouse Nicolas Cage, somebody call Jesus! So, the Flash tries to kill Barry, and Larry jumps in the way, causing Dark Flash to disappear. I finally get the Flash death that I've wanted. But if Larry's dead now, shouldn't Barry disappear? I mean, the whole reason that Barry tried to get Larry his powers to begin with was because if Larry didn't get his powers, Barry wouldn't get his powers. So by that same metric, if Larry disappears, Barry should disappear. So, the Flash goes back in time to stop himself giving his mom tomatoes. He interacts with her, and then she gives him a hug. It's so random and unrealistic. Cathartic for the Flash, sure. But I have never in my life had some random stranger notice that I was upset and offer to hug me. That, and I know he's a little bit older, but how do you not recognize your son? This is a Hollywood thing, probably, but honestly, if I went up to my mom 10 years after being 11 years old, and I was only in my 20s, trust me, I didn't change that much. A little bit taller, a little bit uglier. That's about it. But I'm almost certain that she would have at least seen the resemblance, but I doubt she would have hugged me. So, he puts the tomato can back, then gets the clever idea to rearrange the shelves so the tomatoes are on the top shelf, so that his father reaches for the tomatoes and looks at the camera. The trial is over and his father is acquitted because he looked up at the camera. Barry gets a call from Bruce Wayne, and as they're zooming into Bruce Wayne's car, they definitely hide the reveal here. And, oh my god, George Clooney back as Bruce Wayne? What? What the f***? And it ends with Barry's tooth falling out. Stupid. So, having gone through the entire movie, what are my final thoughts? This movie isn't good. The main actor, who's a real piece of shit, is the worst part of the movie. Now, some had fears that this would be a social justice movie and Supergirl would save the day and show up every man. I myself had that fear, but it wasn't like that. Instead, Supergirl and Batman are the strongest parts of this movie, and honestly the best, in my opinion. And in spite of that, the movie is still terrible. The main character is obnoxiously annoying, and what's worse is that you have a big problem with that, and then you add another one, making the second one even more irritating, and it's twice as bad. I don't know how many times I just wanted to tell him,
How about a little less questions and a little more shut the hell up?
the CGI fluctuated between okay and straight awful. I'm not joking. When they CGI'd Christopher Reeves, the OG Supergirl, and Nicolas Cage as Superman, it looked awful. I respect the deep references they pulled out for this movie, but damn, you should have done better with your CGI. I think my biggest shock was when Bruce showed up at the end. I could tell by the way they were hiding the reveal that it wouldn't be Ben Affleck. But the last person I ever expected was George Clooney. I would have expected Robert Pattinson before I would have expected George Clooney. This is a man who is on record stating that his Batman movie was bad.
I've never done a film. Well, I did one film, Batman and Robin, which was a yes. Thank you. Which was a disaster. But other than that, there's no reason for me to have ever done anything to go to Comic-Con.
But didn't you apologize to the crowd at Comic-Con for Batman and Robin?
I always apologize for Batman.
Seeing him back was wild. I won't say that this is the worst movie out there, not even close, but I don't see myself really ever watching it again. I don't know what the obsession is about bringing back old characters only to kill them off. Michael Keaton's Batman was basically the only reason that I bothered watching this, and seeing him offed twice just got on my nerves. As I said earlier, I thought Supergirl was going to be the hero, and at first, it was kind of set up like that until she gets stabbed in the back. That took me by surprise. Though, when they went back in time, I fully expected it to go completely differently. And it did. They died in different ways. The ending tries for a tearjerker, and I'll have to admit, it hit me in the feels slightly. But I was actively trying to stay in tuned and be into the movie. It didn't make it easy on me either. Clocking in at just 2 hours and 14 minutes, it felt a heck of a lot longer. I wouldn't recommend seeing this unless you are an uber Flash fan, or you actually thought Ezra Miller's funny. Did you watch the movie? If so, I'm sorry. But what did you think about it? Did you avoid this movie because you knew it was going to be bad? Let me know in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time in the Twisted Nightmare Studio.